Welcome to True Talk on WMNF 88.5 with Ahmed and Samar. We're the hosts of the show, your global affairs show that's produced here locally on Tampa's WMNF. And of course, with always a focus on the Middle East and the Muslim world. But since October 7th, we've been exclusively covering events around the war in Gaza, or the war on Gaza, or what we identify as a genocide on Gaza. We're going to continue that conversation, Samar and I, today when we come back after this short break. نعرف اللي طالت غيبتي الأيام ضحكوا على شيبتي وشيبة ولت شيبة ما حبوا طيبتي ناس تستنى في خيبتي والأرنبة طلعت ذيبتي وشوفنا منهم خيبة قالوا يا الغالية شلز شباب على إيطاليا لبحر وامواج والعالية وغرقين وغرقات وحمام وجالية ذات يميني وشمالية وفكري كان في المالية الوحش كبر يا الأخوات ألو 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 يا عمري وينك ألو يا شبابي وينك ألو يا الغالي وين ألو ألو سلم لي عالحبيبة عايش بين ناس غريبة مش عارف. Welcome back to True Talk with your host, Ahmed. Samar is joining me. Now is joining me from remotely from her home in Southwest Florida. Welcome, Samar.
Good to be on the show, Ahmed. I'm glad to be on it.
I'm glad you are here. I know you're dealing with a lot of things. One thing that I wanted to mention is, last week we had the fund drive where we, appeal and beg you for money, our listener supporters, to keep us on the air. We had a successful fund drive. True Talk did very well. However, our goal was actually raised this fund drive around, so we're a little bit short still of our fundraising goal, which is $3,000. I think we're about $400 away from that, maybe $400 and some dollars away. So if you haven't supported our show or missed it last week and did not get in, please go to WMNF.org and click on the donate or the tip jar and make sure you select True Talk as the show you want to support. Thank you again for everyone that participated last week. I know we keep asking for money, but, there's a lot on the line, and especially in America. And we saw what happened, with the debate and the state of our politics and our elections and what's happening in Palestine and the war in Gaza. And very few, if, shows or media outlets are actually bringing you the truth about what's happening there, or dares to even provide a perspective other than the pro-Zionist, pro-Israel perspective. Speaking of that word, Meta is now saying, and some people are saying that if you use the word Zionist, that somehow will get your content deleted or removed, or you could be banned, or it could be seen as some sort of slur. I'm not sure how that is. It's like calling somebody a Republican it's a political ideology to be Zionist. It's not like an ethnicity or a religion. It's a political idea. And as far as I know, you can criticize political ideas. And there are some problems. A lot of people are saying, there's problems with this political idea and what it has accomplished or what it's doing, especially in the occupied territories in Palestine.
Also, Ahmed, I'm not sure if you're active on Twitter, which is called X now.
Not as active and not as famous as you.
Yeah, but they do shadow banning in a very, very clever way.
Really?
Yes. For instance, I get 100 new followers. Mm-hmm. And then I get another 100 new followers.
How often?
Almost every couple of days, sometimes every day. If there is an event, let's say the debate yesterday, because I would be talking about it in Arabic, like explaining major points before the local medias in the Arab world would be covering it. I would be putting my 2 cents, let's say. So immediately,
in Arabic or in English?
In Arabic.
Okay.
So usually I get 100, 200 followers, because my retweet, like people who share whatever I wrote, usually goes anywhere between 500 to 1,000 to 2,000. So when this happens, it means that you are reaching tens of thousands of people in one instant.
Right.
And boom, next day, 200 followers are gone.
Okay.
So where did it go?
Oh, you mean gone?
Gone completely.
So you did not gain 200 followers, you lost.
I gained and then lost them. And then I gain 150 and then I lose 140. And then I gain 170 and then I lose 160. So I am...
So are these people unsubscribing or unfollowing, or they're just deleting them, or they're banning your followers?
I have no idea. And so many people, even Mehdi Hassan yesterday had a tweet and said, guys, I am being shadow banned. People who follow me, and like 1 million people follow him, they keep saying, we don't see you. So people ask me, where are you, Samar? I said, I am giving up. I keep tweeting, I get followers, and then they disappear, and then people ask me, where are you? Why can't we see your tweets? So this Elon Musk, he brags about freedom of speech, and he is shadow banning Palestinian voices.
Yeah, he's so kind of selective. Yeah, it is frustrating. He is selective in the type of free speech that he supports when it comes to conspiracy theories and right-wing type of stuff. Yeah. It's all allowed. You can say all types of nonsense, but if you dare speak out against a genocide that's happening, then right away you're being shadow banned. I think I had seen at some point one of the famous Arab comedians, his account was actually deleted or suspended, and he had with millions of followers.
No, he did. He what they call it in English, logged out, and people thought that he was penalized or anything of that. No.
Oh, he deactivated, you mean?
He deactivated.
Oh, I thought, but he was saying everybody was spreading the word that it was banned.
No, it was.
But then he wrote back and he says, "I'm back." Or my account is back. So is this like just creating some controversy?
Exactly.
So he can get more media attention?
He said, "Oh, I am getting so many threats, and I'm getting threats that affect my family. But okay, why are you still on Instagram and Facebook and all the other platforms?" But some people say he got a contract with a very famous show, like a music show where you are a judge and you judge people's talents and stuff like that. And it's financed by some Gulf state, and he needed to delete all his negative tweets about
so he's been exposed.
Yeah, I never
liked that guy either, especially his role in the coup in Egypt, which he never owned up to. He's basically was one of the main supporters and played a huge role in delegitimizing the government, the free elected government in Egypt at the time. Samar, a lot has happened in the news this week. We want to talk about a number of things, and that's what we're going to be discussing, of course, in the context of Gaza and the Middle East. We have the debate to discuss, and which we'll do that later in the program, that happened, and how basically Palestine and Gaza got like 60 seconds when there's this act of genocide that's happening. Did not get much discussion, and whatever was discussed was kind of it's like worse than even we'll discuss that. And then, but also a American citizen who was in Palestine, in the West Bank, not in Gaza, was executed and killed as she protested home demolitions and other activities protesting the Israeli government, peaceful protest. She was killed, and we want to discuss about the reaction of our government here to that. And some double standard. People are saying this is a double standard. When an American, Jewish American or Israeli American is killed, there's all this attention and right away swift condemnation and consequences. However, not the same when it came to this, I guess she's Turkish American and also Muslim American woman who was protesting, young woman from the University of Washington, who was there in the West Bank. And of course, the death toll in Gaza continues. Just this week, there was a huge airstrike on a tent city, which was supposed to be a safe zone in, I believe, is it El Mawasi area in Gaza. This is an area that people were told to evacuate to, and they are in tents. And the size of the craters, I'm sure you've seen these images.
Yeah.
The size of the craters that these bombs created, they're basically something like 15, 20 feet deep into the ground.
They couldn't see the remains of people or the tents, or like it's almost like a science fiction movie, Ahmed.
Yeah, it's just horrendous that this is happening. And it was happening right at the same time or even the same day maybe as the debate itself. Very little, discussion about it. It's now we're, basically 10 months going on to 11 months into this. And I guess 10 months, tens of thousands are killed. And that's the minimum. Some people are saying it's more than 150, possibly 200,000 people killed if you count all the people that have disappeared, people under the rubble. And the world is just unable to stop it. All because our government, the United States, continues to provide these protections for Israel and provides them cover and is stopping basically the world from taking action.
I doubt, Ahmed, that European countries are being stopped by the US. They are all in together, and so many Arab countries and the leaders of Arab countries are in together with this. These people, the elites who rule, they're all colonialists, they're all authoritarian. I don't care how much the elections you have, but the people are on a different level, whether here in the US or in Europe or the Arab world or elsewhere. So I want really to always separate the two, but to think that only the U.S. government is the one helping and assisting Israel is a wrong thing to say. No, there are more than the U.S. All of them are.
Right.
Like what prevents Britain or France or Germany?
Well, speaking of Britain did actually take a small step in that direction by, I guess, revoking the licenses or banning some weapons. A small amount of weapons that they supply or British companies supply to Israel because they feel, because of the ICJ court ruling saying that they're, Israel, what they're doing in Gaza and their presence there it's an illegal occupation. So they're afraid of possibly being complicit in human rights violations. And for that, they stopped certain weapons from being transferred. Now, the United States is actually warned, and there's reports that the U.S. government has warned and continues to warn Britain from doing that, and that there would be consequences. And just this week, Australia has followed suit and is supporting Britain, so they're also stopping some transfer of weapons. And this is angering the United States. So when you say that the United States is, the European countries are definitely not doing enough, especially Germany. Germany is all on board. But because of recent elections in Britain, the Labour Party there changed some things, at least, in their rhetoric, and they moved to block transfer of some weapons, but the U.S. is pressuring them to do otherwise on that. I don't know if you've seen that report. So they are putting pressure on allies and definitely other countries from stopping, putting any pressure on Israel.
Yes, Ahmed. Actually, I wanted to ask you because, I was traveling, I was trying to follow, but you attended the DNC conference in Chicago. What
Yes.
was your impression? Did you talk to lay people, non-Muslims, non-Arabs? Are they unanimous in their support for Kamala Harrison, or are they kind of disappointed that it's just a continuation of the same administration? What was your impression? I'm very, very curious to know
Well,
how
I mean,
you.
I did travel to Chicago and I attended the DNC. I was outside and inside. Actually, got passes to get into the United Center, where the DNC, the convention was being held at night. In the daytime, it was at the downtown convention center, the McCormick Center. So I did talk to a lot of people. And by the way, if you missed it 2 weeks ago, so go back. I played a show recapping some of my interviews with people, Democrats and delegates that are in Chicago for the convention, and especially talking about Gaza and the issues you just mentioned. So if you're interested in that, go back. If you're a listener and missed that show, go on WMNF.org, go back to the show that aired 2 weeks ago, and you can play that. Also, you can find the archives of our show on your podcast platform, and just look for True Talk on WMNF, and you'll find the shows on there. Last week we were doing the fundraising, so it's the week before that on Thursday. Samar, as far as your question, at the DNC, there were a lot of people that are sympathetic with Palestinians. There were a lot of people that were wearing the iconic Palestinian scarf, the keffiyehs. Some were wearing a button that says, Democrats for Palestinian rights. There were delegates there that were so-called the uncommitted delegates that represented people from different states that did not vote for Joe Biden, but voted on their in their primary elections in those states that they're uncommitted. Some states actually allow that you don't have to choose a specific candidate. Now, of course, in Florida, I don't know if you knew this or not, but well, I'm sure you did, that in Florida, we did not have a Democratic primary. That there was the only choice that was available was Joe Biden. There was no one else. And this was, obviously undemocratic, but the Democratic Party sued to make sure that only Joe Biden is on the ticket and there was no any other option. So at the convention itself, there was a lot of people that are supportive of Palestine and oppose the war in Gaza and the genocide that's happening there. In fact, during Kamala Harris's speech and even Joe Biden's speech, when they mentioned ceasefire in Gaza, it got the loudest applause. So, and that's reflective of a polling that shows that something like over 80% of Democrats support an immediate and unconditional ceasefire there. However, the people that are really following this, they're disappointed, obviously, in what in the Biden and Harris administration, and feel like the Democratic leadership is not in tune and is not implementing the policies on Israel and on Palestine and freezing arms transfers to Israel as the basis. But because of the excitement around Kamala Harris and the excitement that Joe Biden is no longer the candidate, people were somehow overlooking that. And there was this atmosphere of just kind of, frenzy and hysteria of excitement, first possibly woman president and the first black woman. So a lot of the delegates were overlooking these issues, and there was this atmosphere. And it was just like kind of a big circus. There was a lot of celebrities, a lot of entertainment, a lot of obviously Trump bashing. So it was there in the back of people's minds. There was a group called Uncommitted that, like I mentioned earlier, that were holding press conferences and trying to bring attention to it. But and they kept lowering their demands until all they were asking for was like 2 to 5 minutes on stage to be able to have a Palestinian American speak, because during the convention, they had Israelis speak about the hostages, but there was not a single voice, a Palestinian American voice, in a convention where, the party talks about a big tent. Like basically every walk of life, everything, was represented on the stage, including Republicans. There were several Republicans, including people that worked for Trump, spoke on stage. But what was obviously missing was a Palestinian voice, which disappointed so many people. Outside, there were a lot of protesters that were demanding an end to support for Israel. And there was very, very heavy police presence. I mean, this is my fourth convention to attend, and I've never seen such heavy police presence as I've seen, in Chicago when I was there for that convention.
And I think even inside the hall, there was an attempt by some Palestinians to unfurl a banner about ceasefire. And I think a guy hit a Palestinian,
right.
A woman wearing a hijab, and trying to look for him.
Yeah, she is not a Palestinian. She's actually South Asian, Muslim, wears a hijab. I spoke to those folks, and I actually interviewed Nadia Ahmed, the individual you referenced that was the woman. It was basically a woman and two men. She's from Florida. She's actually a DNC member and lives in Orlando. She's an attorney and a professor and focuses on environmental rights. She's part of the Florida delegation, and it was unfurled at the Florida delegation. The way this convention is set up, you don't sit wherever you want. You sit with your delegation, and all the delegations, the different states, have specific areas in the arena where you sit. And a lot of it, politics plays into it. For example, California was front and center because Kamala Harris is from California, so they get prime, seating up front. And then also other states that are really critical, like the swing states, they get, preferred seating closer to the stage. Florida was way in the back, the last, area furthest away from the stage. And it was higher up. And it was three people. Nadia Ahmed, a Jewish man from Michigan, was there with her. So even though he was not sitting with a delegation, he came in, I guess he was sitting in Florida with Nadia. And then a Egyptian American named Issam, and he is from Connecticut, I believe. And the three of them unfurled this banner. They pulled it out. They kind of hid it somewhere, and they pulled it out. It was a large banner that says, "Stop arming Israel." And right away, as soon as they pulled it up, there was this, you could see on videos that were taken, that the staff there worked quickly to cover the signage using "We Love Joe" signs. So there was all these kind of little signs that people hold, and they held them up to cover the sign so you can't see it from far away. They also turned off the lights in that section. It was all orchestrated, like they worked really quickly. So it seems like they either knew something was going to come out of Florida, or they were just in anticipation. So their number one goal was to make sure the public doesn't see this sign. And you can see that the Florida delegates themselves were repositioning themselves and trying to cover the sign to block it, because the group was in the back row, the three of them, and Florida delegates were blocking this message. Now, behind them, if you know, like a basketball arena, there are seats that people sit in. Then there's like a couple of floors of what are called box seats or box suites where VIPs sit. This is an area where you basically access it, like the wealthy people, or companies sponsor different suites or families. So right behind where the three of these protesters were standing were a set of box suites. And in that it was the people that were inside that were executives from a labor union. And three of the executives of the labor union were using some of these signs on a stick, and they were hitting these protesters on the head, and they hit this young woman, or this woman, Nadia Ahmed from Florida, with their stick on her head to try to get her to drop the banner that they were holding. And they're also, physically trying to pull it out of her hand. This was all captured on video. And this was happening while Biden was speaking. And he was speaking out against January 6th. And he was saying that There's no
And I think
place for political violence in America. And you've got political violence happening right in the arena. Let me get
oh
that,
my God.
the
And
irony and the hypocrisy.
I think Amy Goodman got hold of the lady and the Jewish guy who was with her, and then the security was pulling all of them down. Like, imagine if it was the hijab wearing woman hitting this labor guy, how the media would have
Of
played it.
course. I mean, there was something, or if like somebody hit somebody with a yarmulke or hit a Jewish person because they had the Israeli flag or something up, it would be this huge, hate crime and anti-Semitism. And however, because the people, the victims that were attacked are Muslim or Arab, or they support Palestine, because it was a South Asian woman, a Jewish man, and an Arab man. They're the ones that pulled out that banner. And that's reflective of the delegates that are standing up for Palestine within the Democratic Party. It's not just Arabs, it's not Palestinians, it's not just Muslims, it's everyone, because this is a human rights issue. And in my show that I did 2 weeks ago, like, the majority of the people I talked to were Jewish, and they were there speaking up for Palestinian rights because they see it as human rights. This is not just a Palestine Jewish, Arab Jewish, Palestinian Jewish thing, that this is a genocide and it's unacceptable. Samar, somebody sent me a message, and by the way, if you want to weigh in on this conversation, you can call us at 813-239-9663, or you can email us at dj@wmnf.org. If you missed the show right now and you're not listening to live, and you're listening to the podcast, you can email us your comments or feedback to truetalk@wmnf.org. truetalk@wmnf.org. Samar and I are speaking about a lot of different stories that were in the headlines, but this email came, or this text message came in that says, would you be able to calculate the amount of U.S. taxpayers the amount of money that U.S. taxpayer has given to the Israeli military, then divide this dollar amount by the number of Palestinians that have been killed this year? And he says, or she, we spend over $150,000 to kill each civilian over there. For that kind of money, we could buy luxury condos in Jordan for each innocent. But alas, no kickbacks to our politicians from military industrial complex. Okay, yeah, you make a point, but why buy them homes in a different country? They're Palestinian, they're not Jordanian. And the point that, this is something that you often hear from Israelis that want to get rid of Palestinians and get them off the land. Sure, they would love for all these Palestinians to give them $150,000 condos in Jordan and just to go away and disappear. They're trying to ethnically cleanse them, to remove them off their land. That's what ethnic cleansing means. Our phone number is 813-239-9663, dj@wmnf.org. Just this week, Samar, an American was killed in the West Bank. And now we see that Israel is attacking the West Bank. They went into this town called Jenin and decimated it. You see these videos of bulldozers. And destruction. Just specialty type of bulldozers that are equipped to go in and destroy infrastructure. So they have this thing in the tail end, usually the part of the bulldozer that has that scoops things up. They attach this attachment to it that's basically like a big, huge metal hook, and it digs into the ground, and then they drive forward, ripping up the asphalt, ripping up the roads, ripping and destroying all the concrete and the sidewalks and the intersections. Complete devastation. And they go into and they drive into shops and marketplaces and just destroy whatever is there. Imagine, if you destroy the infrastructure, if you destroy the roads, if you destroy the sidewalks, if you destroy the traffic lights and the shops and the marketplace, how are people going to live? And that's the point.
How are they going to react, Ahmed, to all this violence? Violence begets violence.
Well, that's obvious. Yeah, of course.
I mean, when you destroy someone's school and someone's road and someone's home and someone's shop, what is left for these people? And where are they going to go? They were born there. They've been there for thousands of years. And the only thing they have to do is self-defense. And that's what's happening in Palestine since before 1948.
It's
And
not, I mean, you say that, but really they haven't. A lot of the Palestinians, especially in the West Bank, they've been trying this peaceful protest for decades now, including this woman. So the young American, Aji, Aisha Noor Aji, she's Turkish American. She's protesting this type of demolitions. And what happened? She's doing peaceful protest, like Gandhi, like Martin Luther King. And what happens? She gets killed by sniper bullets.
What these students do, Ahmed, is like what Rachel Corrie did, and they are part of an international organization where they come to monitor, to be kind of to safeguard the Palestinians who are peacefully protesting against confiscation of land. So what is happening, for instance, in the Beta area in Nablus, is that settlers, most of them come from the US. They are fanatic Zionist young men and women who just go to any top hill and just take it, put some prefabricated house or room, and then claim the land. And then they start shooting at the farmers and the villagers whose land they just confiscated. So what happens with these students like Aisha, who came all the way from the US to be kind of a buffer zone, to say, look, I am an international, I'm an American. They think, nobody will touch them. And I am monitoring this. I am writing about this. I am telling the world about this. And they're all peaceful, and they all have like big signs that explains that they are peaceful and they are part of a peace group. So they stand in between those settlers and the Palestinians who are trying to peacefully protest the confiscation of the rest of their lands. These settlers are, of course, armed, and these settlers are protected by the Israeli military. And they shot her at a time where there was really no confrontation or nothing going on. For sport, like we have seen how many times they have killed, the way they killed Shireen Abu Akleh, the Al Jazeera journalist, who happens to be also an American, and nothing happened. There is impunity, there is cover-up, and I don't know, Ahmed, if you have seen the press conferences and the daily briefing of the State Department.
Yes, I have. It's so embarrassing how they talk about this.
It's so, I mean, how do they sleep at night, these people? How do they face their spouses or their children? Or how do they continue their life with the amount of double standard and immorality and the things they say? Oh, we are investigating. We asked Israel to investigate itself, and we believe in their investigation. So what was the end result of investigating Shireen Abu Akleh when they said, oh, by the way, we are the ones who shot her and killed her? So what was the punishment? What was the end result? Or Rachel Corrie? I mean, it's, oh God.
I hear the frustration in your voice, and I think so many people feel the same way.
Because it does not stop. Because I sincerely believe all this will backfire. Not today, not tomorrow. It will be another blowback. It will all backfire. And you know how many times Ahmed and I, you and I said, like invading Afghanistan is not going to work.
Right. Iraq, the same thing. It's all creates this backlash. And then people wonder, well, why are they using violence?
They hate us.
Why do they use violence? And of course, let's not take this out of context. Samar and I are not advocating violence against innocent people, but you're not going to kill, tens of thousands. And some people, I just got an email from DeMarco saying that the actual death toll is something like 300,000, could be even more than that. And then he sent a list by the American Friends Service Committee, the Quakers, and that, a list of the companies profiting from the Gaza genocide. And there's like dozens and dozens of them that are making money because of these weapons. And it's all coming from our taxes at a time when so many Americans are struggling to be able to buy groceries. We're sending billions and billions of dollars, and not even to save people's lives, but to kill people. Does that make sense?
No, it doesn't make sense. And we're killing children and babies and women. And okay, maybe our mainstream media is not showing that. We only talk about it in some democracy now. But young Americans are seeing this immediately through the eyes and lenses of the Gazans. And there are many angry people, to be honest with you, whether on the American Jews, American non-Jews, or Arabs or Muslims. And we have seen what happened on the border between Jordan and the Linby Bridge, Israel. A Jordanian just had it and took 3 shots and killed 3 people. And this is going to happen again and again and again. And people are angry all over the world. And we have lame media and we have lame politicians. And I am very worried that this is going to backfire one day.
Of course it's going to backfire. It's going to lead. It's about to lead to a regional war. Israel is attacking Iran, Lebanon, even bombing in Syria, hoping that this will spark a regional war. You have to understand that right now the Israeli government is led by these genocidal, radical people that believe in something called Greater Israel. They believe that the borders of Israel should extend all the way to the river.
Saudi Arabia.
In the
Saudi
south.
Arabia, Iraq.
To go all the way to the Euphrates River in Iraq, goes all the way down to Saudi Arabia, goes all the way to the Nile River. Their footprint of Greater Israel, and they really believe this. So they're not going to stop in Gaza and the West Bank. That's who's leading Israel right now. Not all Israelis believe in this genocidal, Greater Israel project, but many of them do. And we have a lot of these Christian Zionists in America that believe that this has to happen in order for Jesus, the Messiah, to return. So they're trying to usher in somehow the kingdom of God by doing all this. So when you talk about why are people tolerating and allowing for all this death, a lot of this is because of these, crazy ideas that somehow by doing this, Jesus will return. Now, of course, as a Muslim, I also believe in Jesus, but I don't believe that you have to create this genocide and establish the state of Israel in order to expedite the return. Like somehow he's waiting for these Christian Zionists to be able to do this and establish the state of Israel. By the way, these Christian Zionists, not because of their love for the Jews. It's actually because they want to eliminate the Jews later if their prophecy does happen, that somehow those Jews that end up in Israel will either have to become Christians or they'll be, destroyed, killed. Yeah. So this is and the Jewish leaders in Israel know this, but it's like kind of a convenient alliance. They know this. That
I asked one before, and he said, I said, how do you address that? He says, we'll deal with it when it happens.
Oh, wow. Samar, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to take some phone calls, 813-239-9663, and we'll continue the conversation. This is True Talk on WMNF. We'll be right back.
وانا اللي صابر وصابري طال وطال وطال سامحني يامي كان ضاق الحال وانا اللي صابر وصابري طال وطال وطال وغدوة يامي يتبدل الحال ضحكني كاس انا وبكاني كاس والغلطة فينا اللي حسبناهم ناس ولا باس حتى كان ضيعت الادراس والملح والسكر نفس اللون واللي خان ما ظنيته شيخون تقول له موسى يطلع لك فرعون وانا ليل اللمة ما حنيت خبيت دمعي والضحكة وريت مشيت في طريق مش طريقي وما تربيت وصابر وحتى لو كان صبري طال ديما لاباس ولا ما يدوم الحال كيف البحار اللي شاد الريحان وانا اللي صابر وصبري طال وطال وطال سامحني يامي كان ذاك الحال وانا اللي صابر وصبري طال وطال وطال وغدوة يامي تبدل الحال
Welcome back to True Talk on WMNF 88.5. I actually switched now, and Samar is joining me via landline. Samar, are you there?
Such a beautiful song, Ahmed, that you picked. Is it your favorite singer?
It's not my favorite, but I like his style. I like his voice.
Yeah.
Balti from Tunisia. Sabir. Patience.
I like it.
You need patience in these difficult times.
It's funny that he's talking about Pharaoh and he's talking. It's interesting. Anyways, we were talking about so many issues, and I really, Ahmed, I really would like Americans to take a deep breath and evaluate our medical system and the lack of
our what system?
I know it's the medical.
Medical?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You switched gears on me. We're talking about the war and genocide, but why are you saying that?
I'll tell you why. Because this guy who just or this text about how much money we are paying to kill people, how much money we are paying so Americans can die from simple diseases and lack of proper health care and lack of insurance. Because I was traveling outside the USA, in Europe, in Spain, and we had a medical emergency. And we went to an emergency room on a Saturday to a university public hospital. And they did a procedure, and we spent 24 hours there. Not once they asked if we were legals or illegals,
really,
or if I have a credit card, or if I have money on me. I didn't even have the passport on me, just a driving license, and left the country. And nobody ever questioned anything. Gave us a sling, gave us medication. As I told you, did a medical procedure in an operating room. Did X-ray twice, and not a question asked. And it's obvious that we are not Spanish people. It's mind-boggling. And when I was asking and wondering, how could this be happening? Well, why can't these people even take our phone numbers to make sure that we pay them? We were very much willing to pay anything, to get service. And they said, no, this is a healthcare system. And they also have, Ahmed, free education. You can do your PhD in...
Where is this? In Spain?
Yes. We
wow.
were in Madrid. Yeah.
Free healthcare, free education.
Yeah. Unbelievable. People are not like people...
But we're in America. And we don't have people, you see the premiums. Yeah, we have Obamacare, but have you seen the premiums of Obamacare lately? Prices are so expensive, like to just get insurance.
My brother's stepson is, 15, had some upset stomach. They were suspecting maybe it was something. Out of pocket, he paid $5,000 for some test in the emergency room. What is this? And we spent 2 weeks with full medication. The only thing they didn't give us was a nurse to be in the hotel with us. Not a penny, Ahmed. Not a cent we paid.
I mean, is that because you had some sort of travels insurance or something else? Or this is just how they do things? It's just free?
Totally free.
For everyone?
I am a tourist.
Wow. And how is the quality of their health care? Because they talk about like when you have universal health care like that, then you have to wait and die and you'll never get an appointment.
I'm still alive. My husband is still alive. But of course not. We were in a holding room. Let's say it's the emergency room. So we had like 7-8 beds with curtains around it. All looked like decent people. There was they just took my husband to the X-ray, did the X-ray on his shoulder, brought him back. Then a team, a female surgeon came to the room, speaks very good English, and she had like 3-4 students with her. And she said, okay, because you had lunch, we're going to wait a couple of hours before we do the procedure. We're going to put you on this pain medication. And he said, it's not enough. And she said, that's it. That's what we're going to give you. She leaves, and then an hour, she sends a student later on. What they call them, the intern. Perfect service. Perfect. Nothing. I mean, I can't say it's fancy, but there weren't like cats and dogs, stray dogs running in the hallways. And I'm thinking, how could this not be America? How dying because they don't have health care? I mean, totally free, Ahmed.
Listen, but in the meantime, we have to suffer. Like Americans are suffering, millions are without insurance. And we're spending billions of dollars sending it to Israel to commit a genocide. It's not to save lives there. It's to kill people. And they know it's happening. And we're actually in a deficit. And we are borrowing money to be able to finance Israel's. And now Israel wants to go to war with Iran. Israel wants to go to war with Lebanon. This is out of control. And we don't have a government or a president that's willing to stand up. I mean, before we end, you saw the debate. Palestine, Israel got a very short mention there. And both of them are like, who's going to kill more Palestinians?
More people faster.
Faster.
I think Trump is faster. And this brings me, maybe we should talk about this later on. I know we're not supposed to be talking who to vote for or not to vote for, but so many young, Ahmed, actually the local mosque in my town reached out to me and said, can you come next week and talk to our women and groups, the youth group, some of them are eligible to vote because they're confused. They want to participate, but they don't know who to vote for. So there is a lot of debate going on about this issue, but maybe we can talk about.
Well, there was a poll, especially of Muslims they didn't do it across the country, but I think they focused on Muslims in swing states. And in the swing states, I think of Georgia, Michigan, and Wisconsin. Maybe I have to look it up again. But basically, they found that Jill Stein in those 3 states is getting more Muslim votes than Kamala Harris. It's like 29 to 27% of voters are voting for Jill Stein, of Muslim voters in swing states. That's critical because in the swing states of Georgia and Michigan, and those are the states that could decide this election, Georgia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Arizona, but specifically Michigan. It could come down to Michigan, where there's a huge number of Arab Americans and Muslim Americans are in that state, and they're dissatisfied. And they're not doing it. And I think it's not because they like Trump. They hate Trump, but they feel so betrayed by the Democratic Party, which they voted for, because the majority of those people also voted for the Democrats in the last election. And it's unbelievable that a genocide is happening under Biden and Harris. And to them, they feel like that's a bigger betrayal. Okay, from their perspective, what they're saying is, well, Trump, we already know what he is and what they stand for. But the Democrats are supposed to be different. So,
And they're not.
But they're behaving when it comes to the issue, when it comes to Arabs, when it comes to Palestinians, when it comes to Muslims, they're behaving different. I remember when Trump came into office and did the Muslim ban, and put this what was called a Muslim ban, which was a ban on immigrants coming into the United States from specific countries. A lot of people, a lot of Democrats, a lot of Democratic politicians came out and protested and even went to airports, and there was this whole huge movement. But if you recall, and even at the time, I said that the people that are coming out from the Democratic Party, it's because it's more of a move against Trump because of their hatred for Trump, not because of their love for Muslims. And when we see right now that under the Biden administration, tens of thousands of Arabs, Palestinians, Muslims, they have all, but it also includes Arab Christians, are being killed in Gaza, and the Democrats are silent, especially in the leadership, because it's being done. Now imagine if this was actually happening, and I believe this, if Trump was the one that's in office now, and this genocide started, there would be a lot more outrage from the Democrats to stand up to him because it's Trump that's doing it. But somehow, because it's Biden, then the Democrats in the leadership are staying quiet. But the base, they're vocal. They're speaking out. And what you don't want is, okay, even the other people, because only 29% for Jill Stein, 27% for Kamala Harris. The others don't want to vote because they don't see an option. Like, they're saying it's not going to make a difference. And they're not, scaring people of Trump is not enough. You can't just say, well, Trump is going to be so horrible, you got to come out. You got to give people something to vote for. And to simply just say, well, it's going to be the first woman president.
Big deal. Margaret Thatcher was.
No, it is a big deal in one sense, but if it's the same policies and it's going to continue just more death and destruction for a certain demographic, I saw this one, and don't take my comments as that I'm trying to persuade you to vote one way or another, but I saw this funny reel or something on social media where describing the decision in 2024 as, a choice of drinking gasoline or drinking nail polish. And Trump represents the gasoline and Kamala Harris represents the nail polish. Well, which one do you want to drink for this? So it's, for a specific demographic that sees the genocide and the killing of children and being blown to pieces, that is their number one issue. And you can't blame them. And you can't say, no, well, put that difference aside. We have to vote for the first woman president. No, we should put pressure and make sure to put a lot of pressure on whoever is in charge. Well, in this situation, it's the Democrats, to make sure they end this genocide. And we hear them saying, well, we're doing everything that we can to end this, to get a ceasefire and to get the hostages released. It's always about getting the hostages released for the ceasefire, by the way. It's not the first priority to end the suffering and the killing. It's said as a second in these statements. No, I don't think you're doing everything you can because you hold all the keys and all the power. You could just turn off the transfer of weapons and that will end it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Pick up the phone call and say enough, and that will stop tomorrow. But they refuse. So this idea that we're doing everything we can, no one believes that. It's not true. It's just a talking point. So I'm hoping they do the right thing as it gets closer. And it can't just be because of politics. Everything is just driven because it's politics. Well, so they don't think that it's going to be jeopardize their election, but I think it might, especially when it comes to Michigan. We're out of time, Samar. And the news is next, and now it's already, the hour is finished. It's 1:00 on the East Coast, and we have to wrap up. So I hope you have a good weekend. We'll be back here, same time, same place, at WMNF, True Talk, WMNF Tampa. Samar, have a good weekend.
You too. The Scoop is next, I think.
Yeah, The Scoop, which is actually produced right here by WMNF. NPR. We start with NPR and we end with The Scoop by WMNF. Have a great weekend, everyone. Again, WMNF Tampa. I'll see you next Thursday.